Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning, or good day, whenever you're watching, to the Senstennial Podcast. We're happy that you joined us today. And we're going to be talking about the week that we just had for the Ottawa Senators. And Bennett, it wasn't a good one.
No, it's the first losing week the team has had in a while, it seems like. And yeah, just generally not a great one. Another close game lost to LA, the second time they've done so in a couple of weeks. Nice, shootout win over Vegas. We'll take that.
Yeah.
And then back-to-back losses against St. Louis on Friday and then today against Dallas. We did start recording. I mean, I think by now the game is over, but we did
Yeah.
set up to
Yeah.
start
Yeah. Yeah.
recording while the third period was still ongoing. But I don't think anyone told the Senators that the third period was happening because they were not present for it.
Yeah, it kind of just seems like the game against the Blues and against the Stars, the Sens just came out quite flat. They made their goaltenders have to kind of step up, and I'm not gonna blame Levy at all for the Blues game. I think he did everything he could. But when you look at a 6-1 final against the Stars, who are a good team, like it's hard not to, maybe look at Linus Ullmark's play. But once again, the team kind of just flat. And
Mhm.
that Sens Kings game to start the week, also kind of boring.
Just a
The
dreadful game. I mean, though
y-
the one
yeah,
that was played here a couple of weeks ago where we got shut out 1-0. I mean, again, boring game. I mean, very,
yeah,
very little happened. The Sens had a couple of chances near the end of the third, some sustained pressure while they were trying
yeah.
to get back into it. But yeah, I mean, like two kind of like defense heavy teams, just yeah, bit of a snooze fest, both of those games.
Yeah, and the bright side of the St. Louis game was that the Sens get their captain back. Brady Tkachuk comes in and also gets his first point since coming back and had 8 shots on goal. So if
Hmm.
you decided to bet the over on Brady doing 2.5 shots, I'm sure you are very happy. Um, I mean, it's nice that he's back, and I really appreciated the line that Travis Green put him out on. It was Dylan Cousins and Fabian Zetterlund. I wrote a post basically saying that those guys go out there and are just going to hit everything that moves if Brady's on that line with them, and they really did. So it's good to have the captain back. Bennett, what are your thoughts on getting Brady back in a Sens lineup?
Yeah, obviously it's huge. There was a lot of nerves and hand wringing when the news came down 5.5 weeks ago that he was gonna be missing significant time, needing surgery, all of that stuff, which demonstrates his value to the lineup. Even if he's not getting on the score sheet, he brings a lot of leadership, obviously being the team captain, physicality. He's good at getting pucks on net. There's a dearth of people willing to take shots from anywhere in the ice on this team, and Brady is one of those players. Um, we have a lot of guys who like to make that one more pass to set up the most perfect opportunity. And you do need the guys, like Brady, like Giroux can be sometimes, that kind of veteran instinct to just get the puck to the net and see what happens. So obviously he brings a lot of value to the team. It's great to have him back. Good to see him getting on the score sheet early. And I do like that they're letting Stützle and Batherson keep playing together because they've shown a phenomenal chemistry the last month or so. And I think you want to keep that going for sure. And then, obviously having a player like Tkachuk back in your top six helps push everyone else back down the lineup to where they ought to be and where they can perform at their best. So it's obviously good news for everybody. I Friedman on the 32 Thoughts podcast did float the possibility of the Sens falling flat on their face in a couple of games after Brady comes back and spawning a bunch of, think pieces of, was the team better without him? Uh, this was obviously said in tongue in cheek. We all know that that's not the case.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that if you watch sports for long enough, it does just tend to be, you know, something that predictably and routinely happens is,
Yeah.
a player comes back from injury expecting to give a boost to the team, and what follows is a little dip because everyone had been locked, you know, the F in, knowing that Brady was out of the lineup and they needed to step up. And as soon as he came back in, we dropped two stinkers. But I don't think that there's anything to read into that. Just a release of pressure and steam, and I expect the team to get back on track.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty realistic take that Brady is a great player and we need him in our lineup. But yeah, I he's going to displace other people, and we haven't seen chemistry on uh, quite a few of the lines. Obviously, very nice to see the Amadio Pinto Giroux line going as much as it does. And it's nice to see Stützle and Batherson kind of rekindling the chemistry that they've had in years prior. But then once you kind of inject Brady back into the lineup, you're kind of not sure where you want to put him. And you have a
Hmm.
lot of opportunities, and you don't want to get him going early. And I thought in that St. Louis game, as I said, he had 8 shots, but he was flying. He was doing everything possible to score, and he almost did at one point, just on the
Hmm.
on Jordan Bennington's glove side. But you look at the effort that the Sens put up against St. Louis, and yeah, it's definitely disappointing because that's a game that you should definitely have won.
Hmm.
And Dallas less so. Uh Obviously we liked their game against Dallas when they took them to overtime a couple weeks back.
Hmm.
But it is what it is. I think Brady's going to kind of find his footing. It was really good for him to get a point immediately in the first game. And yeah, it was a 4 game week for them,
Hmm.
and they're finishing their road trip against Montreal on Tuesday.
Hmm.
So it's a long time to be away from home. So
Hmm.
it's going to be good for them to get back, but these types of long road trips get like they grate on anybody.
Hmm.
So you hope they can go into Montreal and make some noise because as it stands right now, the Sens are out of a playoff spot for the first time in what feels like the entire season. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we said at the start of this 7 game road trip that if the Sens won 3 or 4 out of 7, we'd be happy.
Yeah.
And there's still well, I think we had said 4 out of 7. And we've won 3 so far. If we win against Montreal, that makes it 4 to 7. If we walk out of this with a winning record, which is still a possibility, you can't really ask for much more than that. It's
Hmm.
at 7 games, that is our longest road trip of the season. The schedule will, get easier from here on out. And even still, it has not been, even if we do lose against Montreal, picking up 3 wins in the 7 game road trip is not disastrous at all.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's respectable. It's normal. Nothing really to sneeze at. A few more homesteads over the course of December and early January. And, again, you'd hope and expect that this team can get back on track once Brady gets settled back into the lineup. So overall, I'm not really worried about it. I am curious about what you have thought of the play of Olmark and Maryline recently. I know you dropped that piece about Maryline the other day. Um, I think that both of their stat lines don't really jump off the page at this point, kind of positively or negatively. They're both just like a step like below league average in terms of
Yeah.
their performance. Well, what have you made of their play overall this past week?
It's hard to say. Like I liked Marylinen's game against St. Louis. I thought he does what he usually does, calm, cool, collected, very steady. And there was something I wrote in the rough draft of that blog that you and I we kind of decided to change, but I had said Sens fans right now, I would say have more faith in Marylainen than they do in Allmark because of Allmark's play. And it, regardless of Allmark actually playing better, which he definitely has. I still wince every now and then when a point shot is put out there, and for some ungodly reason, he will get screened or something will get tipped or what have
Hmm.
you, and it'll just end up going past him. I think he was on the cusp of getting back to being rock solid, giving us 910 to 925 level save percentage games. And then you have a game like tonight against Dallas.
Hmm.
And it's hard not to pick apart his game at times because uh, he's our $8.25 million goalie. He
Hmm.
is the guy who got us to the playoffs last year. He's a guy who's won a Vezina, and sometimes it truly does feel like the Sens have just the most cursed goaltending of all time, and they just consistently find ways to trade away good goalies right before they hit their
Hmm.
peak. I still have a lot of time for Allmark. I think he's a great goalie. I think he just needs to, maybe use his size a little bit more. I feel like he is playing a little deeper into his crease and not utilizing some of the angles that he can easily cut down if he's a little more aggressive. And at the same time, like a loss that we haven't really talked about is Thomas Chabot is not playing.
Hmm.
And that's a big loss on the back end. He is critical for team success. When he is playing very well, things go well.
Hmm.
So like you're and you have two righties on your bottom pair. And back in the day, it used to be much easier to have two of the same handedness playing, but now where the systems are very focused on, if you're a right shot, you're playing on that right side. And Jensen hasn't looked great. And I don't think like Matt and Paolo is suffering because of that. Tyler Clevin is noticeably not a second pair D man, which isn't his fault. Like he's young, he shouldn't be expected to be. And Jordan Spence, he is still solid, but he had a rough game tonight. So like there are a lot of factors. And we were getting away with overtime losses over and shoot.
Hmm.
No, I don't know if we've lost in the shootout. We're pretty good in the shootout,
No,
but
we haven't. I think famously we have not lost at a shootout.
yeah, so overtime losses are our bread and butter, and we just consistently get points. But this week we lose to the Kings 2-1, we lose to the Blues 4-3. Like if we're able to get those two overtime and then overtime loss, we're still in a playoff spot. This is a different conversation. But you need more from Allmark. You need him to be the reason you are winning games. And like you want him to steal a couple. And
Hmm.
it hasn't really happened this year. So the calendar switches over to December as of tomorrow, which is very exciting. And Allmark was basically unbeatable in December of last year. If the Sens are able to replicate even 75% of the success of last year's December, we're laughing and we're in a
Mhm.
very good spot. So I also think they should be giving Maryline a couple more games here and there because you have the Canadians on Tuesday, you have the Rangers on Thursday, and then you have the Blues again on Saturday. And frankly, I think you need two wins. Um, and I think you should give Maryline one of those games.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say the Sens beat the Habs, beat the Rangers, and I want to say, you know what? I'm gonna say 3 for 3.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a revenge win against St. Louis. They are one of the worst teams in the league this year.
Yeah,
You really would want that one back of all of the games that the Sens dropped this past week. It's the one that I think that creates the most. And again, I don't think they even played especially badly. It just,
yeah,
sometimes you just lose and you feel like you ought to have won.
yep,
So yeah, I Montreal game is really interesting.
yeah.
I
That
mean,
used to be
like,
a scheduled win.
yeah, I mean, like obviously, you know, as the saying goes, form goes out the window when you're playing a rival like that.
Yeah,
So truly a toss up on any given night. I want to say that the Sens do take it, cap the road trip off with another win to seal the winning record over the course of the 7 games. Um, I say we drop the result to the Rangers and then, revenge tour win against St. Louis. So I'm calling 2-1.
2-1. Well, I mean, if we get 2-1, we're very good. If we get 3-0, we're even better.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you just hope they can start stacking more and more wins,
Hmm.
more and more points because the gap for first in the Atlantic is getting larger.
Hmm.
Tampa Bay seems to, be tightening that hold, but second and third is basically a toss up at this point, and
Hmm.
the Metro is much better than the Atlantic, and I think getting an Atlantic spot is probably going to be easier than getting a wild card spot. So,
Yeah, definitely agree. And it is, it's one of those seasons where that's the case. The last couple of years is that all the wild card spots were going to the Atlantic because the Metro was in
yeah,
a serious downturn.
yeah,
And that script has been flipped in the opposite direction this year. The path to playoffs for this team runs through the division. It runs
yeah,
through the Atlantic. It means there's all these games against the likes of Montreal and Boston, the Florida teams, Toronto. They take on new meaning not just because, they're teams that we, are division rivals with, that, we're in the case of Montreal and Toronto, we're geographic rivals with, but, they have major playoff implications. And it's good to be in a position where you even care about stuff like that after the last year, seven seasons prior, where playoffs weren't even a consideration. But I mean, it adds to pressure, right? You drop for every game that you drop a result to like a Dallas or a St. Louis. It's like obviously it sucks, but they're in the Western Conference. It doesn't really, other than the fact that you just didn't gain points that night, it doesn't really impact your playoff odds. But I mean, if we lose a game like Montreal, if we lose the game on Tuesday against Montreal, it's almost like a 4-pointer, right? Because they gain two and we
yeah,
stay where we are, and you
yeah.
can't give up too many of those and hope to be in the conversation come April.
Absolutely. Success in the Atlantic against your division rivals is the most important thing. And we're gonna see how it goes because, they're finishing off that really long road trip against the Habs and they also want to get revenge losing
Yeah.
in that overtime because of Drake Batherson's giveaway. So I could expect him to kind of be ready to go for that one.
I certainly hope so. And I mean, you spoke at length about Ullmark and Meriläinen. I mean, I fully agree with everything you said. I think that Ullmark's numbers have been so some of the underlying metrics have been bad, but his overall numbers have been not terrible and
Yeah.
trending in a better direction the last couple of weeks. But we just need that to we need him to be solid night in, night out. And I mean, I know that's easier said than done, but we signed him to a big deal. He showed last year what steady goaltending can do for a team, i.e., turn them pretty much overnight from, perennial playoff spectators to suddenly being in the mix, right? I mean, like it's like anything is possible with goaltending, right? And
Yeah.
that's just what we want out of him, out of Maryline, and to a lesser extent, because he shoulders fewer of the starts. But we just want to be in with a chance every game, and um, we want to be in with a chance in April because once you get in, anything can happen, and so we just have to keep keep breaking even or winning a game or two above 500 for the rest of the month, and then take it game by game, week by week, month by month till we get there.
Yeah. So, Linus, if you're listening, establish that dog in you once again.
Yeah.
On that note, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to the Senstennial Podcast. You can find all of our links down below here, and we'll catch you on Friday with our more recent blog posts, and then we'll see you next week. Go Sens, go.
Have a good week. See ya.